7 minutes past 10, as promised. Over the next 4 weeks, we'll be talking to the contenders running for the Wellington Mayoralty. We'll go one by one a week from now until the election time. Today, we have Diane Calvert in the studio. Our phone lines are open, 0800 80 1080, if you'd like to ask her a question. That's what she's here for. Today, as I say, we've been joined by three-term councillor Diane Calvert, who was first elected to the Wellington City Council in 2016. This is Diane's second attempt for the mayoralty after also running in 2019. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
How are you?
I'm great, and I'm glad you got the best up first.
Oh, there you go. You'll be able to prove to us that you're the best contender. Tell us about the debates. There's been a whole lot of them. I mean, you've been obviously all four of you been very busy. I saw the Q&A one on Sunday. I found it reasonably boring. Are they all been boring?
They've been pretty much Q&As. The candidates get a minute or a couple of minutes to say their pitch. There's no real debate going on between the candidates, so that's probably why most people have been finding them a little bit boring. It's really it's a question of just meeting people and answering their questions, but no spark between the candidates.
Are all four contenders boring?
Well, it depends what you class as boring, but I think people are looking for a contest of ideas, and they're looking to say, well, somebody might present an idea, but it's not being challenged by anybody else.
So you haven't said yes or no. Do you feel that we're a boring group? There's no one out there that's going to really sort of get us going, get the city going, get it moving, get it happening, go to work.
Well, yes, there is, because there's me there. But what you are looking for, and what some people are saying, it's boring because there's no great big vision. But we don't need a great big vision at the moment. We need to get things back under control. And that sounds very boring to some, but that's the realities that we're dealing with. But
we're all doing it pretty tough. You know how tough Wellingtonians are doing it. I see your articles. I see what you're commenting about. We're doing it tough.
Exactly.
So we need the council to get going and get moving and give us that energy and give us that support, don't we?
We do. But what that means is it means getting the finances under control. It means making sure that the council does its business as well as it can do. And it means helping businesses and being open for business. And we're just not doing the basics well enough. And that's what we've got to focus on.
How are you going to do that?
Well, it's really about making sure that we cut down on the priorities that we have, cut down on the some of those bigger projects that are nice to haves, and just focus on our essentials and making sure that we are supporting business. At the moment, we're not competitive here in Wellington. We charge the highest commercial rates around the country. We've got to be there helping and supporting businesses, because if we support the businesses, we get the jobs and we get the people back in the city.
Can you do anything to lower the rates?
Yes, we can. So we can look at what the number of projects we've got on. We can cut down our priorities, and with that, we'll reduce our expenditure. And so, yes, we can do that, and it's with a focus on it. But we won't do that if we carry on the same trajectory that the council has been on in time to keep bringing in new projects. My concern is apart from Andrew Little, who is definitely Labour, Green on that side of the fence, the other three of you, if you become mayor, you're going to have a really big issue, because the council, Wellington's always going to vote a Green Labour council in, isn't it? So you're going to have all sorts of problems trying to lead a group that don't have the same vision as you. Well, the thing is, and on the campaign trail, what everyone's admitting now, it is about rates affordability, and it is about growing the city.
That's not my question. My question is, how are you going to try and convince people around a council to have a different vision to you?
But it is part of answering your question, because what I'm saying is people are recognising that, candidates are recognising that. So when I'm mayor and around the table, we'll be working on making sure we're focused on that. Now, yes, there will be some people elected who are aligned to a particular party. It's no different to what it's been. I say there'll be less this time around, but I've served under 3 different mayors. I've seen what works, I've seen what doesn't work, and what we have to do is get more consensus around that table. We won't get 100% agreeing, but we've got to get more, especially on those big decisions.
What are you going to do if you don't have the consensus? Because that's what concerns a lot of us. What happens if you have the majority of the council that actually don't share your vision for the city. Where does that leave you as mayor?
But my vision for the city is getting the finances under control. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants us to be open for business. So that is my vision. So that is quite simple. It's quite basic, and I will get people around the table doing that because that's what they also want. It's not about it's about how.
Can you honestly sit here and tell me that the current council that you're a member of wants to be open for business? I mean, that's almost a laughable comment.
No, it's not, because I'm talking about the candidates.
But that's not going to change.
I'm talking about the candidates that are standing, and it will change with new leadership. The leadership that's been there has not driven that, has not led that. When I become mayor, I will be driving that, and we will have a new council. Last time, 3 years ago, half the council was new, including the mayor, didn't have a clue what they were doing. I do.
Right, we've got a call. Can you put your headphones on? We've got a call coming in. Charlie, you've got a question for Councillor Diane Calvert, who is running for mayor.
Yeah, hi Diane, how are you?
Good, thanks, Charlie.
You sort of started to actually talking about what I was going to ask about, which is about alignment to political parties. But I think I can slightly change my question to you. How are you going to get councillors to park their politics at the door and make sure everyone's talking about Wellington? Because for me, this seems to be the biggest problem.
Well, you'll see by the people who get elected, and including me as mayor, is that we'll have a mandate. We'll be able to say, this is what the people want, not what a particular political party wants. And it will be working with the council. And I do know that you have to spend half your time working with the council. You can't be away from the council that much. You have to focus on all the council, and it's working, and it's doing the deals. It's doing the negotiations. That's what's going to have to happen, and it can be done.
Thanks, Charlie. How do Wellington people trust you? What do you say to the people of Wellington that are looking at you and saying, can we trust her? She's been on that council for a long time. She's watched all the cycle lanes happen. She's watched the overspending of the town hall. She's watched the overspending of the library. I mean, how do people trust that you can give them what they want?
Because people trust me now because they've seen that I have stood up for them and I've advocated strongly for them. They've seen my voting record. You're not electing someone you have no idea what they'll do. They may say one thing and go off and do another. The evidence is clearly there where I've advocated strongly for more transparency around council, lower rates, and trying to build that trust back up with all our partners and with the public.
Can you answer this question? Why did you not run for mayoralty last time? And this time you really only put your name in the hat when Ray Chung got himself in a little bit of trouble. So why?
Well, but it was more than that. Because I put my hand up, I wasn't going to, because look.
But you actually came out publicly and said you're not going to stand, and then you came out and said you are.
Absolutely, because I could see a lot of the funding was being sucked out by people who thought that Ray was the answer to their prayers. Andrew Little was standing. He had a big party machine around him. And I thought, well, there's not much point. I don't have a big party machine because I'm truly independent. But I stood in July. I decided in July, and I was encouraged actually by my daughters to step up because we couldn't have somebody like Ray representing our city. And Andrew's policies have fallen flat. He's promising stuff that's already been delivered. Save Kandala Pool. Well, I've done the hard yards on that. Save Begonia House. That's been done. Cap transport fares. Well, Greater Wellington passed the resolution to do exactly that. Build more affordable homes. That's what the council has agreed to do, 1,500 of them. So, look, it was just promises that were already being delivered. There was nothing new, and I had something to offer the city.
Where do you sit with social housing?
I support social housing, but it's got to be more effective, and we've got to get back to the table with government. We can't hand it back. Some people seem to think that we could just say, here, government, you take it back. Because we can't. We've got a deed of grant, and I've talked to Chris Bishop. He says, we've got no money. So it's not going to work. But what's going to work is we start building trust back up with the government. This council, the leadership of this council has continually got off on the wrong side of government.
So you won't go to the government and say, look, we've got an issue. You've got Kaingaroa, we've got social housing. We're competing against each other, basically. Why don't we actually make it one and sort it out? I know there's a contract in place, but surely contracts are made to be broken.
Absolutely. And look, I wrote about this 2 months ago. I want to have a city deal about social housing. And it's not just about council and Kaingaroa through government. It's also about some of our other social housing providers. We've had Dwell Trust coming out a few days ago. They're facing similar issues with the government.
0800 80 1080 is a number if you'd like to call and ask Diane a question. What's your big thing? What is the one thing that you stand for that makes you different from every other candidate, and what are you going to do first?
Because I am ready to start running at 100% come day one, because I know the people, I know the politics, I know the projects, I know all the plans. So I know I've got the background to do that, and that's what the first thing I will do is get the councillors around the table. And we'll start building that relationship that we need to have to take us through. And then we're going to reset our priorities. And then through that, reset our projects and reset our budget.
What's your one promise that we can record today and know that you're going to do as soon as you get in?
For the next budget, I'm going to cut expenditure by 5%. And I've been quite clear because
does that mean you're going to cut the rates by 5%?
No, I'm going to cut expenditure by 5% at a minimum. And I've been quite clear. If you go onto my website, which is dianecalvert.nz, I have a Wellington plan. I haven't got a raft of policies that you chuck into a drawer. I've got a plan that will take us through the next 2 to 3 years, and there are clear actions in there that I will deliver.
Take a short break and be back with Diane Calvert, and 0800 80 1080 is the number if you want to ask a question. And my next question is going to be, if she doesn't become mayor, how's she going to work with whoever does become mayor? I gave her a warning on that question. It is 19 minutes past 10. Current Wellington City Councillor and mayoral candidate Diane Calvert is in the studio, and she will take your calls, 0800 80 1080, your questions. Keep them nice and clear and precise. Diane, come election day and someone else apart from you becomes mayor, how will that affect you? How will you work with them?
Well, look, I've been a 3-term councillor, so look, I've
you are standing for council as well?
Yeah, because I've come into this race late. So look, I will work with whoever's there. I've learned how to do that over the last 3 terms. There's always a bit of a settling in period, but look, I think on the debates that we've been going through, it's generally been quite convivial. So everyone knows we don't know what the outcome will be. So, and we will be working. Some of us will be working together.
Who will you work best with?
Oh, look, I can't really pinpoint that now.
Who are you going to vote number 2 for?
I'm not telling you, Nick. And I probably won't vote number 2. To be honest, only for the ward which I'm in, which has 3.
Don't the people that
positions.
are voting for you to put you back on council know who you prefer to work with, or who you think would be okay?
Look, I've worked with lots of people to get things done. A lot of people said, Kandala Pool's gone. I got 15 out of 18 votes for that.
But you keep telling us, you keep saying to us that you're not going to look after the nice to have. Kandala swimming pools are nice to have. I mean, that's not going to, the Begonia houses are nice to have. They're not stuff that changes Wellingtonians, doesn't get our rates down.
I absolutely disagree. They're part of our community. Both of those assets have hardly had any investment in them. Kandala Pool hasn't had an upgrade for 60 years. And this is the problem with the city. We just put things onto the scrap heap because we get bored with them, like the City to Sea Bridge. We can fix them up, we can maintain them, and they can still be there for what the community wants, because they're the ones paying the bills.
Okay, put your headphones on again. We've got another question. Kathy, you have a question for Diane Calvert?
It's a bit difficult to put, but I'll do it as best I can. Diane, how will you deal with staff and their advice to the elected council? I have noticed things like, the City to Sea Bridge, etc., etc. I would like to see the council actually take over a bit of control over what received. How would you?
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Well, I think that comes down to the leadership of the mayor being quite clear about the standard and the quality of the information coming to us. It's got to be neutral and it's got to be evidence-based. And I know I've got the skills to require that. I also think we've got a new chief executive who is also on the same page. So being able to do that together, we will make a difference.
Tell me, what's your relationship with Matt Prosser like, the new CEO? I mean, we've asked several times for him to come on the show. He's pretended to be invisible for us. What's your relationship like with him?
I find him really responsive to all elected members. We treat him with respect. He treats us with respect. And so far, I've been really impressed by him.
Do you think he's going to make a difference for us in Wellington?
Absolutely. Because he is not only internally focused, he's also externally focused. He understands the power of relationships and of building back trust.
You're the only councillor that voted against the Whare Malay. Why?
Because simply we can't cherry pick where we're going to put our future money. I wanted to make sure that when we become a new council, and we all sit round and we decide which projects are going to go ahead and which ones aren't.
Okay, City to Sea Bridge, where do you stand on that?
Absolutely back it, and I reckon it's going to be saved. I'll bet you a drink on that one, Nick.
Is there any, of course it's going to be saved, is there any truth in the rumour that the reason they want to bring it down is because the double-decker buses can't get under it, and that's the way that's going to go with the double-decker bus and the bike lanes down there?
I can't answer that one, but what I can tell you is it's a bit like the Begonia House and Kandala Pool. It's been left to not have the maintenance that it needs, and that maintenance is being done now because they know Plan B has kicked in and the bridge is going to be saved, so they've got to get on and do that work now.
What's the biggest challenge that the new Mayor of Wellington is going to face? What's the one single biggest challenge?
Rebuilding trust. Trust with the people of Wellington, with the businesses of Wellington, and with government and with our other regional partners.
How can we secure that trust? How can you guys show us that we can trust you?
Because we do what we say we're going to do, and we not only listen to what people want, but we also act on what we hear. Because too often I've heard candidates say, "Oh, I've been listening to what the community says." Yes, they've been listening. They just haven't been acting on what the community's asked for.
You've been on that council table for 9 years. The last 3 years, how does it compare to the first 6 years you did?
I would say the last 3 years has been similar to the previous 3 years in different ways, but the outcome has been the same. We have the council's performance has been trending downwards, and we have not been a cohesive unit, and that's been down to the leadership.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some quick questions that I don't want you to get into big answers for. Yes or no to the Golden Mile, and why?
No to the Golden Mile. Courtney Place needs a bit of tarting up, but we don't need to put a cycle lane through it.
Can you fix Courtney Place?
Yes, absolutely.
When's the last time at sort of reasonably late at night have you walked down Courtney Place?
I can't remember late at night, but I was there just last week about 8 o'clock.
Do you reckon any of the other people that are running for mayor have actually been down and had a look at the issues that it's facing?
Look, I'm sure they have. And I think it's different times of the day for Courtney Place, but that place has got to be a day-nighttime economy, and we've got to make it work.
Can you put your headphones on again? Sorry, Diane, I've got a question here. Peter, you've got a question for Diane Calvert. I need to make it quick, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, one of the things that I think a lot of Wellingtonians are craving for in a mayor right now is a real focus on fiscal responsibility. How are you going to get the rest of the council to understand that things like $80 million blowouts in sewage systems and this cost on Courtney Place and the Golden Mile are things that the city simply cannot afford?
Well, partly that will be up to the voters to make sure they vote for the best people on council that have acknowledged that. But the other thing is working closely with our chief executive. I think he's got a sound head on his shoulders in terms of being fiscally prudent, and it's making sure that we have clear evidence to show that we have to get the finances under control. We've got to make the city more livable and more affordable.
Thanks, Peter. Diane, how are you going to change things as far as the polls concerned? The polls are pretty clear that we've got Andrew Little out by a country mile, and the other three of you don't really have a chance.
Well, we have STV, and those polls don't take into account STV. So if you add up some of the other main contenders, their votes, their number ones, are equal to Andrew's, depending on which poll you look at. And polls are only a snapshot in time. And both those polls had a high number of people who hadn't determined or decided which way they were going to go. So look, from my perspective, I'm in the top two. And we will, because I talk to a lot of people around the city from all different walks of life, and we'll see. But look, we've had surprises for the last two elections in particular, so anything can go.
Would you walk in on the first Monday as mayor and say, I've got to cut the council staff by 200 people? I've got to really cut this.
We'll cut the budgets. It's the chief executive who organises the staff to deliver what the council determines. So that's why it's going to be critical that the council gets around the table as soon as possible, resets its plans and priorities, which has a flow-on effect to the budgets available. Last
comment to the people of Wellington. Why should the people of Wellington vote Diane Calvert for mayor?
Because I'm independent and I'll work across the room and I'll be up and running day one straight away. I don't need to learn what's going on. I know what's going on. I know what's under the hood, and I will. I'm not giving up. I've been on council for 9 years and I'm ready to lead the city.
Diane Calvert, thank you very much for coming in. All the very, very best. Appreciate you taking the time out to come on the show. Good luck.
Thank you, Nick.